Hi there, this is Penelope. This is a video on the DE4102 Test 1 2019 and it covers questions 1 to 4. Question 1. First question asks you to expand why won't you draw? Hi there, this is Penelope. This is a video on Test 1 for DE4102 2019 and it covers questions 1 through 4 inclusive. So the first question asks you to expand. So you've got to expand and you're going to need to use the FOIL, the acronym for FOIL. So 4x times 3x squared is 12x cubed. And all of them, so we're going to do the outsides next, plus 8x, the insides, minus the last. And you can leave it like that. You could tidy it up if you wanted to. Question B, now the formatting's a little bit odd here, but question B, part 1, says you need to fully, look at it there, fully factorize. And that should have been a clue, to fully factorize. So xy squared minus 3xy plus 2x. Most of you managed to get the x as a common factor. But to fully factorize, you need to factorize the remaining quadratic. And that becomes y minus 2, y minus 1. Part 2, look at it. It's the difference of two squares, 16x squared minus 9. It's a square minus a square. So you need to think about it as the square root of 16x squared minus the square root of 9 times the square root of 16x squared plus the square root of 9. So that's 4x minus 3, 4x plus 3. C said solve. And some of you are very careless with the right hand side. Right, we need to simplify first. So 2x minus 2 5s are 10 equals 3 minus x minus 6. A lot of you, I don't know what you did, but a lot of you lost that or turned it into 3x or something. Now we can collect the x's, put that one onto that side and put the 10 onto, whoops, too far, to that side. So then we have 3x equals 7. So x equals 7 over 3. The last one says solve 6s squared plus s minus 15 equals 0. Okay, it's got 3 terms, so don't try and rearrange. It's not going to work. So the only thing we can do is either factorize or use the quadratic formula. I'm going to factorize because it does. And then that tells us that s equals 3 over 2 or negative 5 over 3. Otherwise you'd use the quadratic formula and you would get the same answers. Question 2. Now, some of you need to be very careful about actually reading the question. There are 2 variables in here that look the same, but they're not the same. Have a look at it. This one is not the same as the little n. It's not. Okay, so we're starting off with oops, that's a pi. And we could do it lots of ways, but what we can do first is shift the bottom line except the d squareds over to the left. Now, it's easy to find the thing that you want if it's on the top, so then we could flip both sides. Now we could multiply both sides by that. And at that stage, then you need to just take the square root. And it'll only be the positive square root because it doesn't make sense to have a negative square root. You could have done it another way. You could have said directly that d squared, what would you have done? You would have done that to start off with, and then you would have divided the left hand side by everything except the d squared. And then you're at the same stage as you are there. Question 3 requires you to recognize the shapes. First one, y equals 4x minus 1 is a straight line. For any graph, you need to find when x equals 0 and when y equals 0. So when x equals 0, y equals -1. When y equals 0, 4x minus 1 equals 0, so x equals a quarter. Then that's enough for you to draw the curve or the line. So -1 and a quarter, so that's 1, and that's -1. And mark off that as a quarter as well. Done. 3 marks. The second one, you've already factorized. So you've already found that when t equals 0, what did we have? We had 3s plus 5 times 2s minus 3 equals 0. So you'd already done that. So you'd already found the s-intercepts. And then when s equals 0, t equals -15. Now, this is not the vertex, and that was a very common mistake. It's not the vertex. You can find the vertex, the x coordinate of the vertex you can find as being -b over 2a, which is -1 over 2 sixes, which is 12. Or you can think about the symmetry of the parabola, and that this then, the halfway point is not going to be on the axis. It's going to be a little bit to the left of the axis. So then you draw your parabola, you'd mark off -15, you'd mark off your 3 over 2, you'd mark off your -5 over 3, and whoops, that's, and you'd have drawn it better than that because you were under examination. Okay, then the last one, y equals e to the x plus c. Same practice. When x equals 0, find y. So when x equals 0, y equals e to the 0 plus c, which is just plain e to the c. This one you needed to know the shape. This one you needed to know the shape. This one you needed to know the shape. And you've just found that that point is e to the power of c. To write an equation through 2 points, you can just use any rule you like. Well, not strictly speaking any rule you like, but you need to find the slope. The slope would be 7 minus 4 over 5 minus 3, which gives you 3 over 2. Then either put in one of the points, either the first one or the second one. Substitute in, say, the 4, 3, the 3, 4. Doesn't have to be that one. but it allows you then to say that 4, because we've got to work with y equals mx plus c, so that 4 equals 3 over 2 times 3 plus c. That means 4 minus 9 over 2 equals c, which is negative a half. Put it together, y equals 3 over 2x minus a half. The next question requires you to think backwards. You've got the solutions. So if we've got x equals 1.5, then a possible bracket, well, probable bracket would have been x minus 1.5. This is a first try anyway. Then the other one would have been x plus 2.5 to be equal to y. Now, if we check the y-intercept, that's when x is equal to 0, we get that y equals 3.75, negative 3.75, which is wrong because we need it to be negative 15. So all we have to do is go, okay, negative 15 divided by negative 3.75 is a nice 4. So that means that instead of 1 times, it needs to be 4 times. So our final answer is 4 times what we initially guessed. Like that. Equals y. So make a first guess based on the brackets, check with that, adjust it, and go for it. The next one was write the equation of this when we've got a picture and we've got the information. Now, your first guess should be, so first try, should be y equals x cubed, because it's a cubic shape. It is not a tan curve. It's a cubic shape. But then if we try, say, when x equals 0, then y equals 0. And that's clearly not the case, because when x is 0, y is negative 2. So why don't we try y equals x cubed minus 2. Now let's go when x equals 0, y equals negative 2. So that works for that point. Better try another. Say when x equals 2, then y equals 2 cubed, which is 8, minus 2, which equals 6. Yes. And for another one, say when x equals 5, so the last line in the table, y equals 5 cubed, which is 125, minus 2, which equals 123. Yes. So that then is our answer. Question 4, the last question covered in this video. If I'm quick, I'll get it in. 4 cubed equals 64. So that means log 4 of 64 equals 3. This question here required you to write that that's log 2 cubed plus log 5 minus log 4. So that's log of 8 times 5 over 4. So that's log 10, which is log 10, which is equal to 2. The last question in this bit is log, log, log. So we can actually use the rules of logs first. Then we can ditch the logs. We're not effectively cancelling it out. We're raising each side to the power of 10 and we're done. Then we have x squared minus 1 equals 3 by expanding the two brackets there as a product. So now we have x squared equals 4. So x equals plus or minus 2. But x can't equal negative 2. Because you can't find the log of a natural number, so that the only answer is that x equals 2.